Good morning, guys. How are we? Um, Hopefully, I can have a little bit of better of an attempt on this week's podcast than what I did on last week's. I got to admit, I was pretty busy last weekend, and there was next to no chance I was going to get it done on the Sunday. So, and I think it might have deflated me a little bit coming into this week. So I was questioning whether I was even going to bother doing one. But I did a little bit of stuff last night and try and redo what I was doing for the mid-season one last week. I think it's a bit more interesting than just sitting there talking about the games from the last couple of weeks. So I'll switch screens around. Put me down there, get rid of that, and that's the one I'm after. Beautiful. It's like I almost know what I'm doing there now. So I just went back through drafts and waiver pickups and stuff that each team's done and sort of where they are record-wise. So I start off with Matt's team, the Chicago Bears. Currently sitting at 5-11. Pretty sure it was 3-11 coming into last week. So that two wins was definitely a nice result for him, and an attempt to maybe turn the season around. It's been a pretty rough start for him. Funnily enough, a couple of his best draft picks, one of them actually is no longer on his roster. Jaden Daniels I had down as probably his best pick at the 103, and Brock Bowers at the 203. I thought were his clear standouts. Now, he had some other nice picks, but I just thought, especially Bowers actually has been unbelievably productive for a rookie tight end. So he was probably his best pick. And the worst picks I had down were Javon Holland and Talanoa Funga. Both pretty high picks, 403, 603. I wanted to make sure where I've said they're the worst pick, I want it to be sort of inside that first 15 rounds. I don't think you should be penalised outside of there. Like, you're a fair way into the draft at that point. So, and I realise Hufunga's probably up there more due to injury than anything, but as they say, the best ability is availability, and he has not been available at all. Best waiver pickup, I've got down as Quentin Lake. He's actually gotten a number of starts out of him and probably been the most productive guy he's managed to pick up off waivers. So, yeah. Now, overall, do I think Matt's been happy with the production of the team? I would say absolutely not. And what are we at now? So we got 28 results to have. We've now got 12 left to see how the season plays out. It is pretty tight in around the back end of the playoffs at the moment. But there is a little separation happening at the top of it. So a little bit. It was probably more prominent last season, actually, but no. DJ Wadham was a guy that was right on it. Yeah, I probably would have put him in as one of the worst picks too. I thought he was on the 16th round, but being in the 15th round, he'd definitely tie into Holland and Hufunga, who have both been dinged up too. Holland less so. Holland's had more game time, so yeah. All right. Next team was my own. piece of shit team it is. All right. Where'd my Stapleton's currently 6-10. Some of my best picks were Sam Darnold in the 12th round, the 1202, and Brandon Jones, who I haven't played enough of, I don't think. I've barely ever started him, so it's hard. In the 15th round. Worst picks? God, there was a list here. Will Levis has been disgusting. I will never draft Will Levis on a team again. He is absolutely a terrible quarterback. Melifonwu, if I had any idea how bad this injury was, I wouldn't have drafted him at all at any round. And I turned around and drafted him at the 502. Will Levis was at the 202. And I've actually got Marvin Harrison down as one of my worst picks too. He's actually had a couple of decent games to prop his score up, but I think he scored once in the last month. It was the wrong pick. And that was the wrong pick. I don't like Jaden Daniels, and to me, he's a walking fucking time bomb as a quarterback because he seems to like running into contact, and at his size, he just can't do it. He's going to get killed in the NFL doing it. It scared the absolute shit out of me drafting him. And at the end of the day, I think that was basically what the decision that swayed me was. I just couldn't trust Daniels to stay healthy. He's injured now. He was injured now coming into the week, but he ended up playing. So, but I hate the position. I hate quarterbacks. So, my best pickup was Nick Cross. I don't think it was particularly close. Nick Cross has been amazing this season. He's one of the top safeties in the league, I think. I'm not sure exactly where he sits, but he's slightly outscoring Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton's been on a tear of late, so yeah. 6-10 overall. I'm disgusted in this team, to be honest. I can't stand it. Yeah, I haven't got much else to say about it. Buffalo All-Americans. David's team sitting at 6-10, the defending champs. I had his best picks down as Julian Love at the 310. Been a very good scorer this year. And Darnell Mooney in the 40th round. I thought that was he's had some exceptional production from Mooney for a last round pick. Where are we? Julian Love. Yeah, Julian Love would be up there with the top safeties right now too. Difference is David would have started him every week as opposed to my Brandon Jones thing. Worst picks. Luke Musgrave and Preston Smith. So Luke Musgrave was in the 13-10, no longer even on his roster. Preston Smith at the 11-10, and I've got a feeling he's dropped him and picked him back up at some point. Not sure why you'd want to pick him back up, but I see why he picked him back up. He had a 36-point game, and David thought, yes, here it comes. Nah, it's not coming. He's fucking terrible. Yes, not a good player. Yeah. Best waiver wire pickup, I had down as Alexander Madison. I don't even know if he hasn't even started him. But there wasn't a huge amount to pick from. Martin Emerson, maybe. No, he hasn't used him either. Tyke Smith. Let's go with him, actually. We'll go with Tyke Smith. He's at least gotten 37 points out of a start on him, whereas at a 0. It's pretty funny that Rainsford had him and dropped him, and then he turned around and put up basically 80 points in 2 games. So, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I'd say Davo's pretty disappointed where his team's at too. Injuries. Oh, there's Luke Musgrave down here. He wasn't doing anything anyway. He's shithouse, actually. Unrosterable is pretty much the category I'd put Luke Musgrave in. Yeah. Injuries haven't helped David, but yeah. All right. The New Orleans Saints, looking for a spark. They were rolling along at 6-0, and we've gone 0-10 since for a 6-10 record. I had his best picks down as these were pretty easy, I thought, actually. I had Geno Smith and Malik Neighbours down as his best 2 picks. Neighbours has been great outside of obviously being hurt. I think that first week back he was probably a little prematurely back in the lineup. Geno's Geno. He's generally pretty solid, so he didn't really draft him to be a starter. The problem was that Tua got hurt in the first 2 weeks. So, worst picks I've got down as Travis Etienne, who's actually been fucking terrible this season. Yeah, there's no other way to put it. He's really been a terrible football player. And Quiddy Pay has just done nothing. He started off all right, but couple of injuries and then just shithouse production ever since. So, yeah. I actually wouldn't even have him rostered anymore. He's been that bad. And I actually put in a third one, Chiga Conquo. Yeah. Quarterback hasn't helped him, but I don't know, that just terrible. Terrible production. Outside of 2 games, he's been really bad. So, and I thought Jermaine Pratt was quite clearly, very clearly, his best waiver wire pickup, and he's even used the absolute hell out of him. So he's been used like a $2 hooker. Nice work. But yeah, injuries probably haven't helped where Spirit is. He was, I think, a little thin at wide receiver already. And then you turn around and take away Brandon Ayuk and Rashee Rice. Rice would have probably been one of his best picks. But the injury 3 weeks into the season pretty much robbed him of what looked like was going to be a pretty productive season, actually. Brandon Ayuk, oh, Jesus, he was just terrible this season. He had one good game. But yeah, like I say, injuries haven't helped Spirit. He is not Robinson Crusoe there, though. There's been plenty of injuries that have hindered plenty of teams. So, don't think Spirit's expectations on where he would be sitting at this point of the season line up with where he actually is. Hopefully for him it can turn around, but yeah, it's been bad. He's been consistently scoring bad for the last few weeks. So, all right, next team, the Providence Steamrollers. Started off pretty well, sitting at 8-8 now. I think at least on about an 0-4 streak. I think I might have been 8-4 there, Kenneth. I've got the best picks being his Drake London 105 pick and Robert Spillane at 805. And I did write down Paulson Adebo, who he picked in the 18th round. Obviously no longer on his roster, who would bother putting a cornerback on IR. They should never be kept. Just remember that, Peter. They should never, ever be kept. Exhaust every other option. Cornerbacks are hopeless. Worst pick. I actually struggled a bit here. Isaiah Pacheco was probably his worst pick. I don't think he had a lot in the top 15 picks that were glaringly bad. Maybe Deron Payne. He was the other person I was looking at, but I mean, these rookie quarterbacks, regardless of what they've done, and a lot of us ended up putting them on taxi squad. They weren't options for me as far as bad picks, because I had Michael Penix early myself, but I had no thought of rostering him this season. He was always going to my taxi squad, so I'm not throwing them up as worst picks. I'm not that type of idiot. So yeah, I'd say Pacheco and Deron Payne were probably his worst two picks in the first 15 rounds. And I had his best pickup. There was a couple I was sort of pushing between. I had Javon Dexter, who he's pretty much started every week. So he's been a quality pickup for him. I don't know if there was anything else I had there. Kyle Van Noy's been hot and cold. No, he hasn't started him anyway, so. No, yeah, that was it. I think expectations probably line up to about where I thought Kenneth's team would be right now, especially with McCaffrey being out. Losing Pacheco, he didn't have a lot of depth on offense as it was, and to have those guys missing for a chunk of the season so far probably lines up to about where I thought he'd be. Yeah, well, he's still well and truly in contention for the playoffs, so yeah, can't complain with that. At least say there's a chance. That's what they say. So you say there's a chance, and if the playoffs started today, he's in with a chance. All right, 9-7 Miami Dolphins. All right. Best picks in the 4th and the 5th round were Kirby Joseph and Stephon Diggs. He's just donated Diggs to the injured reserve for the rest of the season, and Kirby Joseph's been great. He's the type of cornerback safety that worries me on a weekly basis, because they generally don't get a lot of tackles. You're relying on a lot of other things to happen, and I guess when you get that amount of interceptions happening, that absolutely boosts your score, because every time you get one of them, you get one of these little fellas over here to the pass defense, and there's 14 points. Don't have to get a lot of tackles on top of that to make yourself productive. So, yeah. Worst picks. I had Richie Grant, who just crept into that 15th round pick. Wouldn't even be on his roster anymore, I wouldn't think. Jordan Fuller, who's been injured a chunk and is no longer on his roster. And Rome Odunze. If he'd have drafted Rome and stuck him on the taxi squad, the pick wouldn't look so bad. Now, to get any value out of this pick, he just about has to keep him going into next season. I'm not saying you won't, but just it devalues the pick heavily with him being on your roster than what it would have been if he had been on the taxi squad. Best waiver wire pickup as Jordan Mason. I'd say if McCaffrey's right, and if they're bringing him back, I've got to assume he probably is right. Then Jordan Mason's probably about to become quite irrelevant. Now, expectations. Jared, I'd say, was hoping to win some games, and he's well and truly done that. Well and truly surpassed where he was at last season. Got to be pretty happy with where things are. Who knows how it's going to go? Who knows how the season's going to play out? But he's definitely put himself in a position to be in the Titan Bowl playoffs at this point. So good luck with the rest of the season there, man. Next team is the Philadelphia Eagles. 9-7 Philadelphia Eagles. Best pick easily Baker Mayfield and Aaron Jones. So Baker was the 501. Aaron Jones was, I believe, the 1201. Yep, 1201. Both been phenomenal pickups. Yep. I mean, Baker's had a fucking season and a half, man. He's sniped me on Baker. I actually was thinking of taking Baker pretty much the next pick, and my next pick was Malafon, one of probably my worst pick. Yeah, my plan at the start of the draft was just take quarterbacks early, as many as I can. And anyone I was targeting was going off the board just before I was picking, so it's the way the cookie crumbles. Worst picks, I had down Jamal Adams and Jordan Battle, who I doubt would even be on his roster anymore. Yeah, no. Both gone. Oh, no, he's got Jamal Adams here. Bro, just let it go. He's shit. He can't cover, and this is the reason why he can't hold on to a bloody position at a team anymore. He always struggled with it earlier on in his career. He was essentially an extra linebacker as a safety. So, best pickup I had down is Nakobe Dean. When did you pick him up? Pretty early on, actually. He's been on a tear lately. Yep. No, it's been a very, very, very good pickup. I'd say Robbie's probably slightly above where he was predicted to be right now, but he had a good team. The biggest part was going to be whether he could navigate the any buys and injuries, and I think he's actually been fairly lucky injury wise. He hasn't had a lot of injuries, and a lot of the guys he needed to have fired. Yeah, going well. The Canton Bulldogs up next. The 10-6 Canton Bulldogs. Jake's team. Best draft picks I had down as Fred Warner and Dexter Lawrence. So Fred Warner was the 508 and Dexter Lawrence was the 3508, and I'm pretty sure, I know he hadn't. He started him once. He scored 13 points, just about his worst score of the season. Oh, man. I hate that. And Fred Warner, you would have played basically every week, I'd imagine. Yep. As suspected. Worst picks, Devin White, once again, he falls into the Jamal Adams thing. I think he just gets lost on the field so much. Hence the reason why he's been cut on another team again now. I don't know if he's still on a team or not. He might have been cut again. And George Karloftis I had down as your next worst pick. Purely just trying to pick names there. He hasn't. Sorry about that. He hasn't been productive at all. He's had 2 weeks that are probably considered decent starting weeks. So pretty hard to start him. And best pickup I had is Zach Bourne, which would have been your first waiver wire pickup of the season. So, yeah. Jake's probably a little bit, record-wise, I'd say, under where he wanted to be. But at 10-6, you're still second best record in the league anyway. So, you can't really argue with that. All right. The Green Bay Packers, Paddy Profke. His draft is what has put him in this position. I struggled to find a bad pick. His worst pick was Jadeveon Clowney at 1407. But best picks, I didn't go down this path with a lot of teams. But he just had so many guys that have scored like really high. Bo Nix at the 407, Alontae Taylor at the 3507, Zach Allen at the 2307, Trayvon Murray at the 1607, Chris Godwin at the 1007, and Joe Mixon at 1107. And they've all been like really high scoring. If you're getting up anywhere near that 200-point mark right now, they've been exceptional, and he's got more of them than anyone else did. I mean, Nico Collins should have been part of that list too. He was at the 107. Sorry, I freaking completely whiffed on that. But just had gotten so much production from his draft. And it's the reason why he's sitting at 10-6 right now. He had by far and easily the best draft of anybody in the league. And it's not close. Must have done a lot of, put a lot of work into that draft there, Paddy, I'd say. Certainly wasn't an auto draft. And I've got his best pickup as Tank Bigsby. I must admit, his waiver pickups weren't great. Mike Hughes was probably... I just struggled to pick corners as a big pickup, as a great pickup. Mike Hughes probably the most useful one. But yeah, Tank, if Etienne keeps going the way he is, he's basically not playing anyway, then Tank's going to have a pretty good damn season. So, yeah, I'd say Paddy's probably about where I thought he'd be record-wise. But I think right now he looks like the strongest team in the league. Do I think he's going to win it? I don't know. The Akron Pros, Joey, with the best record in the league at 11-5. Now, Lamar, far out, man. He's having a huge season. All right. So I had your best draft picks down as Kyron Williams at the 306, Brian Thomas Jr. at the 506. And I did put Aaron Rodgers in at the 406. However, Rodgers definitely has an extra game under his belt to have propped that score up a little bit higher, but he's been all right. Kyron Williams had a great season. And Brian Thomas Jr., he's been great too. Sitting on his Taxi, I'm assuming. Yeah. Yep. He's had a big season. Worst picks. Jermaine Johnson, obviously because of injury. Hollywood Brown because of injury. And CJ Mosley because of injury. Stop me if you've heard that before. CJ Mosley, God, Jesus. Been barely on the field this year. And I had Jalen Jones down as your best waiver wire pickup. They've started him most of the time, so yeah, that makes sense. Probably Joe. I must admit, coming into the season, I didn't think Joey's team was as strong as it has been in the past. But definitely when you've got Lamar scoring 300 points this early in the season, you don't need a lot else to be in contention, and he's got some other players there that help with that too. So, how long are we going? Oh, just quickly skim over this week's games. So, who we got this week? Ooh, it's a big game. So, just do what I want you to do, please. The Akron Pros at the Green Bay Packers. It's a huge game. Top of the table clash. The leaders in the two different divisions we have, not conferences. According to Fantasy Sharks, they slightly favour the Packers. I might tip the Packers, actually, in what I think will be a fairly close game. Buffalo All-Americans and the Chicago Bears. Actually, if I was a little bit more prepared, I would have already done this. But it is 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Most of you guys wouldn't even be awake yet, so... what am I looking for? I don't want that, but there we go. No, that's not what I want. Where the fuck is this? It might be what I'm... No. There we go. God. If it had teeth. So... history between the Pros and the Packers. Lost the corresponding matchup last year. So the Packers are currently 1-0 up against the Pros. All right, Buffalo All-Americans and the Chicago Bears. David up against Matt. Looks like Fantasy Sharks are favouring David to get the W here. I think there's a lot in the game. I did see Puka got hurt again. It'll be interesting to see if he's good to go. They seem to think he is, but just given how much time he's missed this season, it's hard to be confident. I might slightly favour David, but not much. I don't think there's much in the game at all, to be honest. It won't shock me either way there. And historically, looks like the Bears, Matty, won the corresponding matchup last season, so currently hold a 1-0 all-time record against them. The Providence Steamrollers and the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins favoured slightly. Yeah. Game could go either way. Little tip there for Kenneth. Drake May was cleared from concussion protocol this morning, so If you want to piss off Danny Jones for Drake May, it is an option. I'll lean to Jared. I think his team's travelling along a bit better than what Kenna says right now. Not much in it though. I've got a feeling I know how this record's going to sit, but I'll check it out anyway. Yep. So she's 1-0 record to the Steamrollers lifetime. They won the corresponding matchup last season. Canton Bulldogs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Probably two of the highest scoring predictions of the week, actually. I don't think I've seen anyone else that high. Oh yeah, Packers and yep, they're up there. Robbie's has got the highest score so far, that's for sure. Oh, look, if I gun to me head, if I had to pick something, I'd lean to Jake's team. I still think it's one of the best couple in the league for sure. So, but Robbie's definitely got the firepower to compete with him at least. Not having TJ Watt this week will not help. Will Anderson got hurt the other day, didn't he? He put up a big old duck egg. That doesn't help you either. I must admit, I haven't even looked at the scores from the other day. So, I'll lean slightly to Jake, but not by much. Then this shit show. Staten Island Stapletons up against the New Orleans Saints. Two of the worst teams in the league right now. I don't know, man. Don't know. I still lean to Spirit's team. He's probably been a bit unlucky. Or he's definitely had some unluckiness with injuries anyway. I just hate my team, to be honest. Not much else to say. I think Spirit bounces back this week, gets a win. I don't think either one of us is going to score high enough to get a bonus win of any description. Fantasy Shark seems to want to favour my piece of shit team, but I don't really know why, to be honest. Yeah, that'll do me. Anyway, guys, not much else to add. Oh, actually, I haven't touched on this so far, so we'll go and have a look at it. The tipping. It's the only other thing that's still active. See, Joey's out on top there by a couple of points over Jared, who's then 3 points ahead of Kenneth. There's a point ahead of Robbie. Then there's Jake, Matt, and Spirit a point behind them. I'm behind that, and I'm a point behind them. David's 3 points behind me, and Paddy's a long way back. So, yes. Not much else to add. That's it for me today, guys. Thanks for watching if you do, and good luck this week.